From beyond the veil of the Force, infinite paths stretch before us. Choices made and unmade, destinies fulfilled and averted. Today, we explore one such path. What if Anakin Skywalker, redeemed in death, was given the ultimate second chance? What if the Chosen One was sent back to the very beginning, armed with the terrible knowledge of everything he would become? This is the story of a man who lived twice, fell once, and sacrificed everything to rewrite destiny itself. The twin blades clash in the generator complex of Theed Palace. Darth Maul's crimson saber screams through the air, hunting for Qui-Gon Jinn's throat. The Jedi Master parries, but his age shows in every movement. Obi-Wan Kenobi races toward them, separated by shimmering energy barriers that cycle open and close with mechanical precision. The young Padawan can only watch as his master faces the Zabrak assassin alone. But then, something impossible happens. A figure materializes from the shadows of the melting pit chamber. A man neither Jedi nor Sith has ever seen before. He wears simple desert robes, his face weathered yet somehow youthful, his eyes carrying the weight of lifetimes. In his hand, a lightsaber ignites with the pure blue of Coruscant sky. The stranger moves with speed that defies reason, intercepting Maul's killing stroke mere inches from Qui-Gon's heart. "Who?" Qui-Gon begins, but the stranger shakes his head. "Get back to your Padawan, Master Jinn. This Sith is mine." What Qui-Gon doesn't know, what no one in this timeline can know, is that he's just been saved by a ghost from a future that must never come to pass. Let's rewind the cosmic clock to understand how we got here. 4 years after the Battle of Yavin, Anakin Skywalker died aboard the second Death Star. The man who had been Darth Vader for over 2 decades used his last breath to save his son Luke and destroy Emperor Palpatine. His body burned in the flames of Endor's moon, and his spirit joined the Force. For a moment, there was peace. Balance had returned to the galaxy. But the Force sent something the living could not. Deep in the unknown regions, beyond the edge of known space, fragments of Palpatine's consciousness survived, clinging to dark rituals and Sith secrets. The Emperor's essence had not been destroyed, merely scattered. The balance Anakin died to restore was already beginning to fracture. In the netherworld of the Force, Anakin's consciousness awakened to find himself standing before 3 luminous figures: Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, and a Jedi he never met in life, Qui-Gon Jinn, the master who should have trained him. "Failed, balance has not." Yoda's spectral form spoke with sorrowful wisdom. "Survived, Sidious has, in shadow and essence." Obi-Wan's voice carried both hope and heartbreak. The Force offers you something unprecedented, Anakin. Not an ending, but a beginning. A chance to live again, before the darkness took hold. Qui-Gon stepped forward, his presence radiating the living Force itself. "You will be sent back to where it all began, to the nexus points where fate can still bend. But understand this, you cannot simply erase what was. You must become something new while remembering everything you were." The cosmic energy of the Force itself wrapped around Anakin's spirit, pulling him backward through time, through memory, through the very fabric of causality. His essence compressed, reformed, solidified. When he opened his eyes again, twin suns blazed overhead, and the scorching wind of Tatooine stung his face. But this time, he was not a 9-year-old slave boy. He was a man, reborn, renewed, with all the memories of Darth Vader burning behind his eyes. Enjoying our alternative Star Wars universe? Consider liking and hitting the hype button to show us your support. Don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending tales from the Star Wars universe. 32 years before the Battle of Yavin, a stranger calling himself Anaro Vesh appeared in Mos Espa. He moved through the dusty sheets like someone searching for something precious and irreplaceable. When he finally found the small hovel on the edge of the slave quarters, his hand trembled as he knocked. Shmi Skywalker opened the door, her kind eyes questioning this desert wanderer. "Can I help you?" she asked. Anaro stared at her, this woman who would die in chains because he hadn't been there to save her. His throat tightened. Every instinct screamed to throw his arms around her, to tell her everything, to warn her of what was coming. But he knew the paradox he faced. In this timeline, Anakin Skywalker was still a boy, still a slave, still destined to meet Qui-Gon Jinn in a matter of days. "I'm looking for work," he managed. "Perhaps just a meal and a place to rest." Shmi's compassion, as always, won out. "We don't have much, but you're always welcome to share what we have." Inside, young Anakin barely glanced up from the protocol droid he was tinkering with. The older Anakin, Anaro, felt his heart crack. There he was, the boy who dreamed of freedom, the boy who hadn't yet lost everything, the boy who hadn't yet become the monster. For 2 days, Anaro stayed close, watching events unfold as they had before. He saw Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi arrive, seeking hyperdrive parts. He watched young Anakin meet Padmé Amidala for the first time, saw the spark of destiny kindle between the queen in disguise and the slave boy with stars in his eyes. He knew what was coming. The pod race, the wager, the freedom that would cost so much more than anyone had realized. But then came the night when Darth Maul made his first appearance. In the original timeline, Maul had attacked Qui-Gon near the Queen's ship, forcing the Jedi to flee Tatooine immediately. This time, Anaro was ready. As Maul's speedster bike screamed across the dunes toward the unsuspecting Qui-Gon, a blue lightsaber blazed to life in the darkness. The Zabrak Sith skittled to a halt, his yellow eyes widening in surprise. Before him stood a Force user he'd never sensed, never been warned about by his master. "Your fight is with me, Sith," Anaro said quietly. Their duel lasted only minutes, but in those minutes, Qui-Gon Jinn witnessed lightsaber mastery that defied conventional understanding. This stranger fought with Form 5 precision, but seasoned with the wisdom of Form 3's defense and the unpredictability of Form 4. He fought like someone who had spent decades perfecting every possible variation of combat. When Maul finally fell, disarmed but alive, Anaro looked down at him with something that shocked the Zabrak more than defeat. "Pity. You're a tool, not a monster," Anaro said. "And tools can be repurposed." The weeks that followed rewrote Star Wars history. Qui-Gon Jinn survived Naboo. That single change rippled through the galaxy like a stone dropped into still water. The Jedi Master, grateful to the mysterious Anaro Vesh, insisted he accompany them to Coruscant. On that journey, Anaro began his careful manipulation of fate. He spoke with Padmé Amidala about the strength of conviction, about trusting her own judgment even when senators and advisors pushed her toward compromise. He sensed in her the queen who would become a senator, who would fight against tyranny until her dying breath, but maybe, just maybe, who wouldn't have to die this time. He watched young Anakin practice basic lightsaber forms under Obi-Wan's instruction and saw the boy's raw talent, his need for validation, his fear of loss. Every flaw that would later be exploited. Every crack that darkness would seep through. "Don't be afraid of your feelings," Anaro told the boy during a quiet moment on the transport. "Fear them and they control you. Acknowledge them, understand them, and they become just another part of the Force flowing through you." Young Anakin looked at the strange man with confused recognition. "You remind me of someone, but I don't know who." "Perhaps you remind yourself of me," Anaro replied and said no more. When they reached the Jedi Temple, Master Yoda's ears twitched the moment Anaro entered the council chamber. The ancient Jedi's eyes snapped open during meditation, and he gasped, a sound those around him had never heard. "Impossible," Yoda whispered. "Sense him, but sense him twice, as if echo and force he is, or shadow of shadow." Mace Windu frowned. "Master Yoda?" "This Anaro Vesh. Familiar he is, yet know him I do not." But there was no time for investigation. The Battle of Naboo was won, but the political intrigue of Coruscant was just beginning. Senator Palpatine, elected Chancellor after the Trade Federation crisis, began his consolidation of power. And in the depths of the Jedi Temple's detention cells, Darth Maul waited, his mind touched by dreams that Jedi could not block, his master's voice calling to him through the darkness. 2 years passed. The galaxy evolved along tracks both familiar and foreign. Count Dooku, whose departure from the Order had been triggered by Qui-Gon's death, instead remained a Jedi, his faith preserved by his former Padawan's survival. The Separatist movement still grew, but without Dooku as its Sith figurehead, it remained a political rebellion rather than a galactic conspiracy. And through it all, Anaro Vesh worked in shadows, advising Padmé, mentoring the young Anakin, and waiting for the moment when he would have to reveal the truth. That moment came when Palpatine made his move. Unable to corrupt Dooku, unable to use Maul, the hidden Sith Lord accelerated his plans with desperate intensity. He reached out through the Force to his imprisoned apprentice, breaking him free in a spectacle of dark side power that shook the temple. In the chaos, Anaro knew his time had come. He found Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in the meditation gardens, both preparing to hunt the escaped Zabrak. Slowly, deliberately, Anaro drew his lightsaber. The blue blade hummed to life, casting sharp shadows across the flowering trees. "Before you leave," he said, "you need to know who I am, what I am." Qui-Gon's hand went to his own weapon, not in threat, but readiness. "I've been waiting for you to tell us, my friend. I've sensed the storm gathering around you. My name is not Anaro Vesh," he said, and his voice carried the weight of deaths and rebirths. "I am Anakin Skywalker. Not the boy you know, but the man he will become if fate is not changed. I am from a future that must never be." The silence that followed could have swallowed stars. Then, Anaro told them everything. About the Clone Wars that would devastate the galaxy. About Order 66 and the genocide of the Jedi. About his fall to the dark side. His transformation into Darth Vader, the mechanical monster who served the Emperor for over 20 years. About the children he didn't know he had, Luke and Leia, and how his son's love finally redeemed him. About his death aboard the Death Star and the Force's unprecedented decision to send him back. "You're the chosen one," Obi-Wan breathed. "Or were. Or will be?" "The prophecy never specified when balance would come, or how many chances it would take," Qui-Gon said slowly, his mind racing through implications. "The Force itself has given you another path, and that path leads to the Senate," Anaro said grimly, "because Palpatine, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, is Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who orchestrates everything, and he's preparing his final gambit." The confrontation came not in the Senate chamber, but in the lightless depths of Coruscant's underlevels, where power conduits hummed and forgotten machinery gathered dust. Palpatine had lured Anaro here with threats against young Anakin, with promises of power, with the same seductive whispers that had worked once before. "You cannot escape what you are, Skywalker," the Sith Lord hissed, his face half illuminated by red and blue lightsaber light. "Even reborn, even warned, your nature calls to the dark. You crave order. You need control. The boy you were will fall just as you did." "You're right about one thing," Anaro replied, their blades locked in a shower of sparks. "I can't escape what I was, but I can accept it, learn from it, let it make me stronger without letting it make me cruel." He pushed back, breaking the blade lock, flowing through Dejem So's power strikes into Soresu's perfect defense. He'd learned every form as Vader, mastered them through decades of combat. Now, he used them all, a symphony of light against darkness. "I was the chosen one," Anaro continued, each word punctuated by saber strikes. "I destroyed the Sith, you, at the cost of everything I loved. But the Force wants something better. Not balance through destruction, but balance through wisdom." Palpatine laughed, the sound echoing through empty corridors. "Then why do I sense murder in your heart? Why do your strikes aim for killing blows?" And Anaro froze, because the Sith Lord was right. Every attack had been designed to end Palpatine forever. The same rage, the same need for finality that had defined Vader still pulsed through him. Above them, the building groaned. Their duel had damaged structural supports. Tons of ferrocrete and steel began to collapse. In that frozen moment, Anaro Vesh, Anakin Skywalker Reborn understood the true test the Force had set before him. Not to kill Palpatine, not to prevent his younger self from falling, but to make a different choice than he'd ever made before. To choose sacrifice over victory. He didn't strike. Instead, he reached out through the Force with every ounce of his strength his reborn body possessed. The collapsing building slowed, held by invisible hands. Palpatine, sensing opportunity, lunged. But Qui-Gon Jinn's green blade intercepted him, Obi-Wan at his side. The two Jedi had tracked them here, arriving just in time to see Anakin choose differently. The Sith Lord, weakened from his brutal duel with Anaro and caught off guard by the reborn Skywalker's sacrifice, hesitated for a final instant. In that moment of shock, Qui-Gon's blade found his weapon hand while Obi-Wan's strike disarmed him completely. The disturbance in the Force drew more Jedi. Mace Windu and Kit Fisto burst through the entrance, their blades ready. "Go!" Anaro shouted to them, his voice straining as he held back catastrophe. "Get him to the council. Tell them everything. This has to end through justice, not vengeance." "We won't leave you," Obi-Wan called back. But Anaro was already fading, his physical form dissolving as he channeled everything he was into holding back catastrophe. Not just the building, but the cascading explosion that would have leveled 6 city blocks. He held it all, contained it all, let it consume him completely. As his essence dispersed into the Force, Anaro felt the threads of darkness unraveling across time itself. By preventing the Empire, the dark rituals that would have preserved Palpatine's consciousness in the unknown regions would never be completed. The future he lived through was being written over, replaced by something brighter. The Force's gambit had worked. His last thought was of twin suns rising over Tatooine and peace. The galaxy that emerged from these events was imperfect, but hopeful. Palpatine, captured and tried before the Galactic Senate, was exiled to the farthest reaches of space, his dark secrets exposed. Darth Maul, recaptured in the chaos of that fateful night, chose an unexpected path. Freed from his master's influence and haunted by Anaro's mercy, he provided testimony that helped expose the Sith conspiracy. He would spend the rest of his days in supervised exile, a cautionary tale of the dark side's corruption. The Jedi Order, shaken by revelations of how close they'd come to destruction, reformed under Qui-Gon's guidance, embraced the living Force and balancing discipline with compassion. Young Anakin Skywalker grew under Qui-Gon's mentorship, shaped by the mysterious Anaro's example. He still struggled with attachment, still felt too deeply, but now, those emotions were acknowledged rather than suppressed. When he meditated in the temple gardens years later, now a Jedi Knight, he sometimes sensed a presence, familiar but distant, like remembering a dream. "You were never meant to fall," a voice whispered through the Force. "Not this time." And on Tatooine, where it all began and ended and began again, twin suns rose over endless dunes, painting the sand in shades of gold and hope. The Force, eternal and infinite, had bent the arc of destiny toward light, not through power, but through a single man's willingness to be better than he had been. The Chosen One had fulfilled the prophecy, twice. If you enjoy this journey into an alternative Star Wars universe, where destiny takes unexpected turns and balance means something entirely different, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We explore the infinite possibilities hidden within the galaxy far, far away, asking the questions that reshape everything you thought you knew. The Force has many paths. Come discover them with us.